Merci beaucoup. Après 8 ans de Justin Trudeau, tout coûte plus cher. Le travail ne paie plus. Le coût de logement a doublé. La criminalité, le chaos, les drogues et le désordre SM partout. Et Justin Trudeau essaie de diviser pour contrôler les gens. C'est ça la réalité de Justin Trudeau. Ces déficits inflationnistes ont doublé la dette nationale. Il a ajouté plus à notre dette nationale que tous les autres premiers ministres ensemble. C'est quoi le résultat? Ces dépenses gonflent le prix des biens qu'on achète et l'intérêt qu'on paye. Donc, 9 sur 10 jeunes ne peuvent plus jamais imaginer avoir une maison. Il y a 1,5 million de Canadiens qui doivent manquer des repas à cause des prix d'épicerie. 1,5 million doivent manger à une banque alimentaire. Et le désespoir que ça a causé, l'itinérance et les sans-abri qui ont perdu l'espoir, et on voit la criminalité partout, avec les politiques de libération facile, vite, et la libération Netflix, Justin Trudeau a causé une vague de criminalité à travers le pays comme on n'a jamais vu. Une augmentation dans le taux de criminalité violente de 32%. C'est ça la vie quotidienne dans les grandes villes après 8 ans de Justin Trudeau. Il essaie de cibler des chasseurs et des tireurs sportifs qui ne sont pas responsables pour le crime. Le gouvernement Poilievre va rétablir le gros bon sens. Un gouvernement Poilievre va ramener des prix plus bas en éliminant le taxe carbone et les déficits inflationnistes. Il va rendre le travail payant en réduisant les taxes et les impôts. On va réduire le coût de logement en enlevant de la bureaucratie pour permettre plus de construction et en réduisant des taux d'intérêt, en réduisant les déficits. On va aussi s'attaquer au crime en nous assurant que les vrais criminels, les récidivistes, soient en prison au lieu d'être libérés sous caution ou libérés pour regarder le Netflix. Finalement, nous allons ramener le contrôle de notre démocratie ici au Canada en établissant un registre de pouvoirs étrangers pour forcer ceux et celles qui sont payés par les dictatures d'enregistrer et d'être exposés. Et finalement, un gouvernement Poilievre va tenir une enquête publique sur l'ingérence étrangère. On sait que Justin Trudeau et son club, qui inclut David Johnston, son ami de ski, son voisin au chalet, son ami familial et membre de la Fondation Trudeau, essaie de cacher la vérité des Canadiens. Je n'accepte pas ça et je revendique que finalement, Jagmeet Singh fasse son travail en forçant son partenaire de coalition à tenir une vraie enquête publique pour que les Canadiens puissent savoir la vérité. C'est le gros bon sens. Et c'est ça notre but. Un gouvernement Poilievre qui sera mené par le gros bon sens de monsieur et madame tout le monde. Un gouvernement qui va travailler pour ceux et celles qui travaillent. Thank you very much for being here, everyone. After 8 years of Justin Trudeau, the cost of living is rising out of control. Work no longer pays. Housing costs have doubled. Crime and chaos, drugs and disorder reign in our streets. And Trudeau tries to divide in order to control. We see this in Toronto, where now costs over $1 million for a home. In fact, we just learned this week that it costs $1.2 million for a 2-bedroom home in Kitchener. You could take that same money, move to Sweden, and buy a castle. You could have your own royal castle in Sweden for the same amount Justin Trudeau makes you pay for a 2-bedroom home here in Canada. His gatekeepers block construction, and what does he do? He gives them yet more money to gatekeep and block our youth, our immigrants, and our working class from having homes. His carbon tax scheduled to rise up to 61 cents a liter. We'll make gas, heat, and groceries unaffordable. His $500 billion of inflationary deficits have boosted the cost of the things we buy and the interest we pay. And his catch-and-release crime policies have turned our streets into war zones controlled by gangsters and gun smugglers. Enough. It's time for some common sense. Pierre Poilievre-led government will restore that common sense. We'll bring home lower prices by axing Trudeau's 61 cent a litre carbon tax and ending his inflationary deficits. We'll make work pay by lowering income taxes so people bring home more of each dollar they earn. We'll remove government gatekeepers so immigrants can work as doctors and nurses and houses can be built that people can afford. We'll sell off 6,000 federal government buildings to turn them into affordable housing for our people. We'll also bring home safety by ending catch and release and bringing jail and not bail for repeat violent offenders. No more Netflix sentences for repeat offenders. And instead of putting billions of dollars into grabbing back lawful firearms from licensed owners, we're going to put that money into bolstering our borders and hiring more police to keep our communities safe. Finally, we will bring home freedom for our people by ending foreign interference in our government. We know that Beijing interfered not once but twice to help Justin Trudeau get elected, and who could blame them? After all, Trudeau says he admires the basic Chinese communist dictatorship. He admires Fidel Castro. He adheres to their ideology, and so they want him in power, and they've helped twice get him elected. He does whatever they want, and they help him stay in power in exchange. They gave $140,000 to the Trudeau Foundation. You know the Trudeau Foundation, David Johnston's old organization? Well, Trudeau hires him to investigate the interference in the Trudeau Foundation. But David Johnston says, don't worry about that. I had someone look into it and make sure that I'm not in a conflict of interest. And what do you know? That someone is a judge who is also a member of the Trudeau Foundation. This is the tiny club of Trudeau insiders who get rich and powerful by making everyone else poorer and weaker. They're better off, everyone else is worse off. They protect themselves while no one in the government protects Canadians. Well, I will protect Canadians. I will bring home lower prices, bring home powerful paychecks, bring homes people can afford, bring home safety, and bring home freedom to our country with a foreign agent registry to expose those who manipulate our democracy for foreign dictatorships, and by holding a public inquiry to get to the truth about Beijing's interference to help Justin Trudeau. This is our country. This is our home. It's the common sense of the common people united for our common home. Your home, my home, our home. Let's bring it home. Thank you.
Okay. We'll now have time for a few questions.
Good morning, Mr. Poilievre. Simon Dingley from CBC News, sir. If you're not going to go over Mr. Johnston's report, will you allow your MPs on the National Security and Intelligence Committee to do so?
Yes.
Okay. Puis-je avoir la même réponse en français?
Oui.
Okay. Any other words you can add, sir?
Look, we know Justin Trudeau has something to hide. It's clear. First, after the election happened, where we knew Beijing interfered, he hired this gentleman named Rosenberg to look into it. Who's Rosenberg? He's a former member of the Trudeau Foundation, which got $140,000 from Beijing. Then there was an outcry because all the intelligence that Trudeau knew about got leaked to the media, showing that Beijing interfered to help him win the election. So he said, okay, I'll hire someone called a special rapporteur. So who does he hire? His ski buddy, his chalet neighbor, his family friend, and of course, member of the Trudeau Foundation. And just to make sure that Mr. Johnston was not in a conflict of interest, they asked yet another person to look into that, who's a member of the Trudeau Foundation. Out of 40 million people in Canada, there's no one outside of the Trudeau Foundation qualified to look into any of this Justin Trudeau foreign interference scandal. This is ridiculous. Let's get back to common sense. I'm going to bring home control of our democracy to the common people in this country. Only a Pierre Poilievre government can do that.
Puis-je avoir la même réponse en français, s'il vous plaît?
Donc, Justin Trudeau a quelque chose à cacher. C'est sûr, parce qu'après les élections, on savait qu'il y a eu de l'ingérence de Pékin. Justin Trudeau a engagé quelqu'un qui s'appelle Rosenberg, qui est membre de la Fondation Trudeau pour en enquêter. Après ça, il y a eu un grand scandale parce que les services de renseignement ont fuité l'information dont Justin Trudeau était au courant par rapport à l'ingérence. Donc, il a dit, OK, on va engager un autre membre de la Fondation Trudeau. Et finalement, il cherche une troisième membre de la Fondation Trudeau pour enquêter s'il y a un conflit d'intérêts parmi les autres enquêteurs. Tout le monde que Justin Trudeau choisit pour enquêter l'ingérence de Pékin font partie de la Fondation Trudeau, qui a reçu 140 000 $ de Pékin. Évidemment, Justin Trudeau a un scandale à cacher. Il faut mettre fin à ce scandale en mettant la lumière avec une vraie enquête publique et avec un vrai registre de l'influence étrangère. Merci.
Hi, Mr. Poilievre, Dustin Cook with the Globe and Mail. What? It seems to take Prime Minister and other ministers that the powers would be more effective at getting to what the government needs.
Your mic did cut out there at the very end, so I wasn't able to hear the last part.
Sorry. Do you think that a judge with subpoena powers would be better to dig into election interference, despite what Mr. Johnston said about potential intelligence being compromised?
Yes, I do. I think a judge heading up a full public inquiry who has experience with national security cases would be best suited to decide what becomes public and what must remain privileged. When I'm Prime Minister, I will name a full public inquiry that includes an experienced judge who has the subpoena power to call any and all documents from the government and decide, based on the facts and based on our national interest, what share of that should be public. We have to put this in the hands of a trusted judge rather than in the hands of Trudeau's ski buddy, cottage neighbor, family friend, and Trudeau Foundation member.
Thank you, sir. My name is Kieran. I'm with the Canadian Press. You said yesterday that you wouldn't get security clearance to review classified materials David Johnston used to reach the conclusions of his report. You would get those security clearance if you were elected Prime Minister. What are the situations in which you think information should be kept secret for confidentiality concerns?
I'm afraid I'm having a hard time hearing some of the questions. There's a muffling of the mic. If you could repeat that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, you mentioned yesterday that you wouldn't be looking, following David Johnston's report, you said you'd like a public inquiry.
Yes.
But that couldn't be done, David Johnston said, because of security concerns. If you were elected Prime Minister, you would have a clearance to the security concerns if elected. I'm wondering what situations you think information should be kept secret or should be disclosed from the public.
Well, first of all, CSIS itself has said in its briefings to the Prime Minister and to the other members of the government that sunlight is the best disinfectant. Our intelligence community believes that the public should know about this. That's why members of CSIS or some other national security agencies are leaking this information to the media. They believe Canadians need to know. I think the public needs to know to what extent a foreign dictatorship is manipulating the decisions of our government and the elections that decide who is in government. And we should leave it to an experienced judge who's heard cases involving national security and sensitive information to decide what becomes public and what doesn't, and ultimately to rule on what occurred and what needs to happen to fix it.
Ryan Lilly, Toronto Sun. Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
We've had this type of inquiry before with Maharar, where
Yes.
it was dealing with the most sensitive issues, and we survived that. You and the other opposition leaders have all called for a public inquiry still after the Johnston report, but what can you actually do in Parliament to try and force that? Are there tools that you will be looking to use, slow down, boycott of Parliament? What specifically would you look to do when the House resumes?
Well, it's up to Jagmeet Singh, isn't it? Is Jagmeet Singh going to stay in his coalition with Justin Trudeau and help him cover up this latest scandal? Singh has helped Trudeau raise carbon taxes, release repeat violent criminals, cause the housing bubble. Is Singh going to help Trudeau cover up the interference of a hostile foreign dictatorship in our elections? He's Justin Trudeau's assistant in this cover-up. If Jagmeet Singh decides for once to do his job and work for Canadians instead of working for Justin Trudeau, then Parliament can force Trudeau to hold a full public inquiry.
Okay, this will be the last question.
Hello, Jamie with City TV. We're in Toronto here. We're in the middle of a mayoral election. And it doesn't matter whose campaign you look at, there is an extreme shortage of money for the City of Toronto. And that's echoed by every large city in Ontario. The funding formula for cities is not kept up with the pace of growth. Whether you look at operating expenses for public transportation or healthcare or a lot of those factors. Would you enter into funding cities in Ontario and Canada differently than they are funded now?
Yes, and I'll tell you how in a moment, but I just want to provide some context. Isn't it incredible that Justin Trudeau has doubled our national debt, added more debt than all previous prime ministers combined, while having every single federal seat in Toronto, and yet the city is still broke? How is it possible that after he doubled our debt, he didn't actually deliver for the biggest city in Canada, even though that city has elected nothing but Liberals in the last 3 elections? It proves that the Liberal MPs in Toronto are utterly useless and cannot deliver for the people of this city. They are utterly useless because they work for our out-of-touch and incompetent Prime Minister rather than working for Torontonians. Now, you asked about how I would fund cities. Well, we have a housing shortage in Canada. We have the fewest houses per capita of any country in the G7, even though we have the most land to build on. By far the most land to build on. Why do we have the fewest houses? Because government gatekeepers block construction. That adds as much as $600,000 to the cost of every home in some of our big cities. I will link the number of dollars that big cities get to the number of houses that get built. I will require every big city increase housing completions by 15% per year or lose infrastructure money. But there will be a carrot. Those that speed up and lower the cost of permits and free up land to build more homes will get a building bonus from the Poilievre government, because they will help put more houses in our communities so that young people can once again own a home in their 20s and start a family. In other words, I'm going to bring homes people can afford by getting the gatekeepers out of the way and letting builders build.
Thank you very much.
Yes, on transportation. Sorry, I forgot that. On transportation, I'm going to require every federally funded transit station be pre-zoned and pre-permitted for high-density housing and apartments. So we're going to have massive apartments around transit stations and even on top of transit stations. In Hong Kong, why do they make money on their transit system there? It's the only transit system in the world that runs a profit. Why? They build the housing right on top of the stations. They sell off the air rights, and then young people and seniors can get on the elevator, go down to the bottom floor, hop on the train and be at work or at their friend's place in 7 or 8 minutes. We need to pre-approve high-density housing around every single transit station so that our youth and our seniors don't even need to own a car. It's not just about more money, it's about removing the gatekeepers, unleashing construction, and bringing homes that our workers can afford. Thank you very much.